adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming. Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
We've gone 9 o'clock, 9:01. Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to our meeting for the 13th of April 2021. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge to country. I would like to begin with acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Darumbal people, and pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to our neighbouring Aboriginal peoples within our local government area the Gangaloo National people, the Barada, Kalabara, Yadamarala people, and also acknowledge the Torres Strait Islander people whose land is in the Torres Straits, but whose people live and work on Aboriginal land. Again, I'll make those apologies there for the pronunciation. I will get it, and it's one there a bit of a tongue twister with the number of those ones, but we'll get to that point. Just moving on, councillors, any apologies and leave of absence? I don't believe we have any. We have a full table. Move on to item 4, the confirmation of minutes. Councillor Wickerson. Sorry, we have a...
Unless I missed something, item 10.2 was about the flight information systems. Initially, we laid that on the table because we wanted some more information to come back, but I couldn't see in the minutes, unless I've missed it, sorry, that it was resolved later in the meeting. Is it there? Oh, sorry, if I've missed it, my apologies. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah.
Okay, councillors, can I see a mover and a seconder with regards to the accuracy of those previous minutes? Councillor Kirkland, seconded Councillor Smith. Councillor Wickerson, did you like...
Oh,
no, sorry. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Business outstanding, item 6.1, lifting matters off the table. Councillor, there's 2 items there that are being lifted off the table and being reported on throughout this meeting. So we'll need a resolution with regards to that, the Rockhampton Grammar School renewal and the appointment of representatives to council external organisations. So could I seek a mover? Move Councillor Kirkland, again seconded Councillor Smith. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Public forums, deputations nil. Presentations of petitions nil. 9, councillor delegation reports. Leave of absence for Councillor Neil Fisher. We have a change in the dates there. If we could move that from the 19th of April, Linda, please, to the 16th of May. Inclusive? I know I'm happy to move as per that. We've come to an agreement that we pushed it as far as we can there, councillor, so it's... yeah. So, yeah, we'll call that there. So I'm happy to move as per those dates, and seconded Councillor Smith. There was a long phone call discussion this morning, so put it that way. But that said...
Councillor Fisher was actually acting mayor for 3 months, as well as doing his own portfolio and his own division. And I think he needs to take time out to look after himself after all the hard work he's done, and did a great job.
I'd support that. And again, I think Councillor Fisher mentioned it's probably the longest time that he's had off during his term. So again, there's well and truly overdue. Again, I'll move that and second that. Councillor Smith, so I'll put that to the table. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to 9.2, the Councillor Discretionary Fund application for Councillor Alan Smith, the Mount Morgan Radio Association. Allocation there. It's part of the policy that we need if there's 2 or more applications for that such a thing. So again, I'm happy to move that one. Seek a seconder. Councillor Fisher. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to item 10.1, the Advanced Rockhampton Economic Development Events 2021 Rockhampton Agricultural Show Tender Quote Consideration Plan. We got who's John on that one? Who's
Greg.
Greg, is Greg?
Greg's online. Probably if there's any questions, Mayor, on that one.
No, is there any questions on that one, councillor? It's just no questions.
Didn't look at you just because.
Can we have a mover and a seconder with regards to that one? Move Councillor Smith, seconder. Councillor Wickerson. We'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Thank you. Moving on to 10.2, the Community Chair, Councillor Wickerson, the Beef 2021 Showgrounds curfew. Did you want to make comment to that, councillor, or is it again, as per previous years, it's one that's that's been? I think there was some discussion yesterday Councillor
community
Rutherford was it?
engagement, that was
Yeah, the
sort of
community
separate,
engagement. Yeah,
Question, John is online.
yeah.
Councillor.
Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, I do have some questions, if I could, and that's about what type of community engagement is being done for the community around there, because to date I don't think there has been anything. Also, what security will be put in place. So it's not so much the events, it's the patrons leaving the events in a disorderly fashion at the end of the evening. That's more of an issue. So what security is being put in place to ensure the residents aren't disturbed?
If I could, through the chair, and Greg will probably jump in here. I'm not sure if you had that discussion yesterday, Greg, with Beef Australia, but at this point in time, Councillor Rutherford, up to yesterday, we had no idea of what type of community engagement was being undertaken. So I might hand over to Greg there.
Yes, Greg.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillor CEO. I see John there as well. John may have been on the meeting on Friday, but at this stage, a lot of the community consultation was put on hold because Rocky Nats were doing their consultation. So we've put in a call, and Tash Bury and I will meet with Ian Mill today for a conversation, unless John knows more than I do about this. But you know, we need to get hold of this engagement plan, and including the traffic management plan. So that's what we're meeting Ian to discuss.
Okay, well, yes, Councillor.
So I'm wondering whether we can hold this off for a week until we have more information on that.
Is our next council meeting a week, Evan? 2 weeks' time, I think. I don't think there's any urgency there that they needed.
Any issues, Greg and John? You're on mute, mate.
John, we can't hear you on mute.
Come here.
No, not sure. Yes, Alicia?
Councillors, probably just ask the question in terms of this decision. So this is centred around the two events that go later into the... three events that go later into the evening. What bearing the consultation? I mean, we need to follow up, and that was noted yesterday at our meeting. We need to follow up on that consultation. But the discussion that we had yesterday was a lot of the complaints were not around necessarily the events that went the longer than the curfew, that we need to close this loop out, but it was around the other activity at the site, you know, trucks arriving at all hours in different pieces. And that was where the consultation needed to also happen with the residents. So we can follow that up, but why would you hold off on this decision now?
I think security at the end of the evening is probably a key issue for the extension of a curfew, and whether they intend to provide any security.
I'm just the... John, are you still on there? No.
And we can't let Greg.
Councillor Smith, I'll just continue with the questions.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. With my memory of 2015 and 2018, they've always asked for these extensions.
That's right, yeah.
I don't see this as being any different to what they normally ask for.
And councillor, as a divisional councillor, had you received complaints about the after these events?
Not about the events, but certainly about the disorderly conduct of people leaving the events. So all I'm really asking for is some sense of security for that community, that, you know, as people depart those events, their quality of life is not going to be disturbed. I have no issue with beef, the beef event. It is fantastic for this community, and the Wandle community believe that also. But there has been very little consultation to date, which there normally has been by this time in beefs previously. And the issue of the way people are leaving those events has been a problem in the past. So, you know, I'd just like some form of reassurance that there will be some security there.
Yeah, okay. Again, I wasn't familiar with any of the things, and that's when we had the workshop yesterday to talk about were there specific issues with the curfew. But we haven't had any consultation about the community consultation and the traffic management plan, which we'd asked Greg to go back to Beef and ask that for that information to be provided to us as urgent as possible. And that's why we weren't able to get a gauge on that, those specific complaints around this curfew matter. But that said, we can leave the matter lay on the table and get some consultation, request for consultation from Beef, and we can call a special meeting next week to deal with this matter if that's the best, if that's a preferred approach, rather than trying to deal with it now and not have that information on hand.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I certainly, you know, there's no issue here except for just some type of reinsurance for that community that, you know, they will be taken into consideration.
Yep, no, that's fine. That's noted. We did mention that yesterday. That unfortunately you were on away on leave at the time and during that meeting to get a better understanding of the previous events and the issues there. That noted. Councillor Wickerson, further question?
Yes, Mr Mayor. If Greg is going to meet with Ian Mills from Beef tomorrow, I think happy to support laying that on the table for a week or so. It gives us an opportunity to chat directly with the organisers and bring security into that mix with transportation and community engagement as well. It just might be beneficial to hold.
Yeah, yes. And look, that may be part of their planning anyway, especially with COVID now, that there's another level of requirement there with those types of things. So that may be covered off anyway. We just need to make sure that that's the case and come back that. And it's only prudent that we engage with Beef just to do those questions to them. So that said, there's a change in the resolution that the matter lay on the table and seek further information from the community consultation and security arrangements, and that a special meeting be held on Tuesday the 20th of April 2021. Councillor Rutherford, are you happy to move that? Move, Councillor
Yes,
Rutherford.
Mr.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks, councillors. Infrastructure. There's no reports on infrastructure this week. Planning and Regulations 10.3, there's an application there. Councillor Smith, as the portfolio person, would you make any comments there, or just through to the officers?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. This is a really good application. It's an extension of what's already there as well. There was just one query yesterday about the, Thomas might be able to fill us in about the point of discharge for the stormwater, because that is a stormwater area, and I think that was the concern of the submitters. That was the only query I had.
You there, Jamie? We can't hear you again, mate. We might have some... You there, Jamie? No, we still can't hear you, mate.
Greg, are you able to say something to us?
You there, Greg?
Was that a question to me, Evan?
Yeah,
we just wanted to see if our sound is working, mate.
Yeah,
so
no,
it is working
I'm
our end,
here.
so it must be Jamie's end.
We're just having some technical issues at the moment, so we might just hand over to Thomas and go from the table. That's all right. We'll take that on note. If from Jamie, if someone can talk to Jamie just about the water ones, flooding problem there. But,
Might see if we can get them at the end of the presentation.
Yes.
Follow up. Sure.
Thank you.
Good morning, councillors. So this development application is for a proposed MCU for a residential care facility located at 76 Jardine Street in West Rockhampton. The development is actually an extension to the existing multi-cap facility located on the adjoining southern lot. Just next slide, please.
Sorry, Thomas, if I could. Hey, Jamie, are you able to trot down to the chambers phone?
No worries. The subject site is located in the low-density residential zone under the current planning scheme. The current site is vacant and largely surrounded by single detached dwelling houses located in the same zone. The adjoining lot to the south, as I mentioned before, is the existing residential care facility operated by Multicap. Jardine Street provides the site with its only road frontage to the east. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the proposed development, as I mentioned before, is for a residential care facility, which will act as an extension to the existing Multicap development on the southern lot. This facility will comprise 10 long-term accommodation units comprising of single units and duplexes with overnight assisted accommodation and one short-term accommodation building with an administration office attached. Access to the site will be via a new crossover from Jardine Street to the east, which you can see on the site plan there just to the north. Each of the units are afforded an undercover car parking space with an additional 16 visitor car parking spaces also provided on the site. Next slide, please. The application was subject to public notification for 15 business days, but there were two submissions received. One of those was not properly made. All of the matters raised in the submissions have been summarised in the report, and I think there were two key issues and addressed as part of Council's assessment. Next slide. So it is recommended that the proposed development is recommended for approval subject to the conditions outlined in the report in the council minutes. It's also recommended that council amends recommendation C to levy an infrastructure charge of $228,000 and $228,203. It's just an error I made with the original report. Any questions?
Questions, Councillor Rutherford?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say this is a fantastic development, but I am very, very concerned about the location and whether we have looked at the overland flow. I'm worried that this is a similar situation to what the Elphinstone Street house was in. So we've built, I think, a $1.5 million detention basin just in Pearson Street to hold the amount of water that comes through that property. So there is a massive amount of water that goes over the top of that property and through into that detention basin. And even at a time that detention basin overflowed and flooded their houses down from it. So I'm just wondering how this development has, I guess, allowed for that water and what happens then to the water if it's not getting through? Is it going to back up?
Well, from my understanding, and Jamie will be best placed to answer these questions, is that the stormwater channel, there's not going to be any actionable worsening to any surrounding properties as a result of the development. How that, any specific sort of design questions and what that sort of looks like, I'll get Jamie to sort of respond in more detail. I'm not sure where.
So we would have all seen photos of the place in Jardine Park, the amount of water that comes through on the land near one of the homes just up further, and this is worse again.
I can, through the chair, I can probably have a go at and relaying what Jamie described to me yesterday. So the submitter has actually done a number of flood studies on the site, and the proposal is to have like a formalised drain 10 to 15 metres across the back here that will then discharge into this council land and then out to Pearson Street. From what Jamie has said, who is on the way, is that the proposed design should actually improve the current situation as a result of this development. So that will then result in a stormwater easement along that area.
So they're building the land up?
No, they will make it a drain.
But at the moment it comes through this corner area, runs diagonally. So I'm guessing to get the water to go down further and run through a drain, they're going to have to build this land up at the front.
Possibly. That's definitely a Jamie question. He will be here soon.
He's on his way. Councillor Smith, further question?
Yeah, there was a mention of an easement to the back of the houses in Pearson Street, but that's only people have been driving in that way. You can see the road that they've got in there to get back access to their properties, but it's not actually an easement at all. There is an easement across the road, but that's not for driving on either. So that easement sort of never existed, but in these people's minds it was an easement because that's what they've always done to get access to the back of Pearson Street properties.
Jamie, could we go back a slide to have a look at the... sorry, Tom, could we go back a slide to look at the... yeah, thank you. So, Councillor Rutherford, you're saying from the roadway at the top of the bottom of that diagram, the water travels across to the top?
Basically straight through where that building is, so straight down the pathway through and into that back corner, and then there's a big detention basin.
We'll just let Jamie catch his breath for a second. He just belted up the stairs, so that was pretty good timing, Jamie. We've got the stopwatch out for next time.
So, morning, councillors, Mr Mayor. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
So you're asking questions about lawful point of discharge and where is the lawful point. So to the northwest of the site is the council-owned parcel of land.
Could we just grab a pointer if you could, Jamie, just to
Just here, Jamie, do you want to use the pointer? Just
So how do we operate this? Oh, turn it around. Around the other way. Around the other way.
Mm-hmm.
maybe just the previous slide
Might be better, yep.
Thank you.
So that parcel of land there, so we've currently got, I think, 3 detention basins in that parcel of land there. So currently the stormwater comes from this upstream catchment, flows through a trough in Jardine Street, so there's cross drainage there as well as overland flow. Comes through to this site via an unformed channel. Basically the water sort of finds its way through here. It comes down into the council land and then through this other portion of council land out to Pearson Street and then finds its way down Pearson Street. So what we've asked the consultants to do is a flood impact assessment. So they've actually modelled this catchment, looking at the expected water that's coming through this site. They've come up with a proposal. Basically, they're constructing a 10 to 15 metre wide channel that'll run pretty much parallel to that northern boundary, conveying all that water down. There will be a detention function of that channel, so it'll detain some of that water and then it'll release it back into that council parcel of land. So the effectiveness of that channel basically is improving the flooding in these properties to the north. It's improving flooding slightly in Jardine Street, and it's actually going to improve some of the flooding levels in our council land as well.
Councillor Rutherford?
So Jamie, I thought the water also came diagonally across that block. So there is a channel, but it goes diagonally front to back.
Yep, you're right.
Yep.
So there's a smaller channel which runs in that direction. So that'll be conveyed throughout the site as well via a smaller channel which will join into that bigger one.
So can we go back to the other, the overlay? Yeah, so can you point that through there, Jamie?
Yep, so basically there's a channel that'll come down through here. There's cross drainage underneath that internal road,
Yep.
which will connect back into this main channel through there. There's actually sewage infrastructure in that location there that's being diverted closer to that property boundary so that that channel can work.
Councillor Rutherford?
Jamie, have we looked at this against our most recent flood modelling stuff, and it takes the amount of water that's anticipated?
Yep.
Yeah.
So when we've spoken to the consultant about doing the flood modelling, we've advised them of the most recent up-to-date modelling that we've got, and they've used that information.
All right. I hope
It's hard to argue with
a lot of water there, so I'm hoping they're right. A lot of water.
Mm. But again, the experts have given us that information,
Yeah.
Councillor, and they're
because that detention basin has overtopped, so I'm hoping we're right.
So council's
Detention basin has overtopped, yep.
Yeah. So I think the intention is that captures water and slows it down to a point and then it weir flows out into Pearson Street. So the same will occur with that channel through there. It'll capture some of that water, slow it down and then weir flow back out into our basins.
Thanks, Jamie. Further question, Councillor Kirkland?
Thank you, Mr Chair. Thanks, Jamie and Thomas. Yesterday I had a question just with regards to item 3.2 in your approved plans and documents, etc. there. It says that they're going to take it in a two-staged approach and that the first stage is 6 years to complete. Is that normal, or it just seems like a long time, was my question yesterday, and the second stage was 12 years. Of course, my reservation is, you know, that a lot can happen in 6 years.
So through the chair, standard currency periods in the under the Planning Act for MCU applications are typically 6 years. So that's a standard time frame that we've decided to include that first stage. I guess with including the 12 years for the second stage, it just gives them sort of a time frame to ensure that development is completed at some point in the future, rather than just, I guess, letting it sort of sit there. Yeah. So it gives them some sort of parameters. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor, if there's no further questions to this report, can I seek a mover and a seconder? I move Councillor Smith, seconder. Councillor Kirkland, we'll put that. Those in favour? Those against? You against?
Through the chair, could I just double check that recommendation C was going to be amended just for the infrastructure charges?
We'll just...
Yeah, if we could just amend
that
amount
yep.
to 228203.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, thank you, councillors. Move that resolution again now with those changes. So move. Are you happy with those changes, Councillor Kirkland? Councillor Smith? I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Did you want to record that, councillor, or are you right? Yep. Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next item, item 10.4. Thanks, Jamie, for that early sprint. Well done. Trotting, yes. Thanks very much, Justin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr Mayor, councillors. Justin Bullwinkle, Sports and Rec. I think I've had the pleasure to meet you all by now. Look, today's report presents the Rockhampton Grammar School's final capital development plan for Rugby Park, along with a request to renew its current lease for an extended term, which is currently set to expire at the end of this year, 31st of December. Rugby Park, formerly known as Diggers Park, is located on Blackwell Street, The Range, and does border the southern end of the Botanical Gardens. Rockhampton Grammar School, back in 2017, took on the trustee lease over Rugby Park. Forming part of that condition, the school was required to establish a redevelopment plan for the facility by June 2021 this year. Based on this report and their final development plan, they've now actually adhered to that condition, for starters. In September 2019, the school also provided council with an earlier draft of the proposed development, excuse me, providing some insight to council to the vision for the facility. This included the need for potential additional land, that encroachment into the botanics, and the need for an extended lease term, more than the standard 6 years that we offer currently. The development proposed is a concept that is consistent with our current 2021 operational objectives, and with that both officers and parks support option 1 that's been comprised within that report. Look, what we have found that what they're proposing, it is seen to be a suitable, value-adding, long-term initiative for the community, complementing council's current focus on developing future sporting precincts within the region. Option 1 is outlined as a long-term development plan naturally and is deliverable by 4 stages. Stage 1, ideally you may have identified in the report that it would also identify as their short-term plan if the long-term plan wasn't supported. So stage 1 comprising, in short, a 3rd rectangular playing field, administration buildings comprising a gym, field lighting upgrades, a multi-purpose building with dressing rooms, canteens, umpire rooms and meeting rooms potentially, female compliant facilities and function rooms. And finally, obviously working with Ergon to look at power supply upgrades for the facility. Stage 2, moving into the long-term option 1 as we're recommending today, they would work with council and consider those studies around the flood mitigation for the main field as a priority, audio-visual upgrades, a storage shed, followed by stage 3, where that mitigation, that flood levy work would then look at considering the whole of the facility to safeguard its entirety, including aspects such as the grandstand and scoreboard. And finally, stage 4, which is the big item that would obviously still need to be outworked, but what they're proposing is to put in a synthetic running track with the success of a flood levy implemented. With this, if council does elect to support the school's plan to undertake all 4 stages being option 1, it will include naturally that a minor encroachment into the botanical gardens as referenced. Look, if it is granted by council, the school understands they need to seek appropriate approvals from Queensland Heritage as well via an exemption certificate to basically establish whether they can and to what degree can they establish within that area. They also need to work with DNRME via the submission of a land management plan and updating that, and that would be done in conjunction with council and officers. Look, they have really stressed how much they are committed to work collectively with council and its officers throughout the entirety of the project, ensuring all development activities are supported and managed through relative DAs, which will safeguard our needs and obviously those requirements. With option 1, officers also do seek support from council for the tenure to be renewed on that long-term basis of up to 30 years as a minimal, allowing the school time to outwork the development and obviously safeguard their investment and give them time to complete that work. The school does understand, there are considerations such that council do need to take, such as the priorities to safeguard the community's future needs and access to the facility, committing to work with us and establish conditions that ensure capital works are carried out within the reasonable timeframes, meaning that if the school fails to deliver on agreed terms potentially, council could move to alter the terms of that agreement, that trustee lease, and even reduce the term of tenure. And these are all conditions that we can negotiate with the school and set to, give us that security. With regard specifically, another one I want to identify in that report is the relationship with Capras. The report does refer again to a relationship between the school and CQ Capras and the concept that Rugby Park becoming a training facility for the club. Look, I do want to note that their use would just purely be for training, and while there are facilities there that would utilise as well, such as gyms, etc., their home ground would still remain Brown Park as their playing field. And I just wanted to, at this point, refer to page 3 of the report. I think the 3rd paragraph from the bottom. There's an error on my behalf. I have noted or referred to a sublet agreement. That's incorrect. I was actually meant to refer to it as an MOU. So with that, look, I've spoken to the school and Capras, and look, there's certainly no intention of a sublet nor a move to. What they were looking to do is the school would remain entirely responsible for the lease and its asset and enter into something like an MOU or a like with Capras that would set the agreement and the utilisation of that facility. Now, the MOU would also provide council with an overview of the Capras presence and their use across the facility, and the school has really stressed their willingness to work with council to negotiate those terms and those conditions as well. Look, the final, key point in the report I just want to notice before I wrap up is the plantation and the encroachment, if we do have that consideration. We've acknowledged with the school that the existing koala fodder plantation would likely be impeded if the development work was to encroach into that section of the Botanics. Now, the school have understood that a condition again would be set, meaning no development work could commence until such time that an alternative food source for the zoo was established or identified safeguarding their needs and our koala population. So the school's also demonstrated great support in helping us identify a future solution with that plantation, and I understand that they wouldn't be able to work in that area until such time we had an alternative in place. Look, to conclude, the school requests council, I guess, in short, to support the extended lease term and the area within principal support to option 1 of the development plan. Look, council, I also think it's worth noting that the school are not looking to council for any support financially, understanding that it is an extended lease term and if the lease term and area was extended, they would be responsible for the entirety financially of the project and conditioned to work closely with council naturally for the life of that project and redevelopment. Thanks.
Okay, thanks very much, Justin. Again, I think it's a fantastic opportunity there. I do see, for all intents and purposes, that we were on site and had an inspection of the facility. If you walk the site, you'd see the fence there. You would have thought that land was part of that development originally. So hearing that they're keen to work to look at the options there with that process before any development occurs is something there. Now, I do have a question, and it's with relation to the car parking. Just to be mindful that that's still public open space there, and that car parking there, we don't want to see that impeded anything there for the public in general as their access, and it's quite a popular walking location. So I think we might need to make sure that that's part of the ongoing relationship, that car park area is something there that is not overtaken by the development at all. So we just need to bear in mind that that's an ongoing issue there with the club, as it's not anything in the resolution there that highlights that one. So if we can note that. I know we've got an array of lights, so we'll start with Councillor Latcham and then work our way around from then to Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Latcham.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I do have several concerns. I mean, the project on the surface appears to be a benefit to the boarding community, but I do have concerns from within the contents of the proposal. We talk about, I guess the main thing was you're talking about they haven't asked for any financial support, but indirectly they have. So the cost of the removing and relocating the koala habitat is obviously going to be a cost to the council. That's only a small bit, I know, but it's one consideration. It's the paying $600 annual fee to receive 17 million litres of water per year for free, $32,000 worth of water and increasing every year for free is a cost to council. The expectation that the council will pay for flood mitigation is a cost.
I don't think there was any expectation that we were...
Page 64 says it's proposed that RRC consider providing flood protection to the subject site.
Yeah, that was, and that I think that's flown over from their initial draft. Recent conversations, and look, I'm more than happy to go back to the school themselves and firm this up, but they understand that a lot's changed since that original submission with council and our South Rocky and Airport levy plans, and that's still in development and under consideration. So they know that any flood mitigation or levies, there will be a requirement on them to outwork that, conduct those investigations, develop that plan, and potentially even basically put it into place. So they're not actually formally asking for any financial contribution for that either.
Okay, two more things, sorry.
Just to add to that, so this is the first stage of it. So if council were to approve the extension of the lease area and the extension of the lease, to undertake the next step, there has to be a development application process, in which case there will be the flood mitigation as part of that they will have to undertake. So we will put, just like any other developer on any other piece of land, we would put requirements on them to make sure that the buildings are not impeded and that sort of thing. So, yep.
And the car parking would be part of that as well?
Correct, yes.
Incorporated into that? Okay.
Secondly, thanks, Mr Mayor, there appears to have been no significant community engagement on what's being proposed for such a big project. Has the immediate neighbourhood been advised what's going to happen? Because it's going to increase the intensity of the usage of the facility. This doesn't appear to be any community consultation.
So once again, that would be part of the development application process, that then you would get any objections, just like we had with the item before. There would be notice of the proposed development, and then any objections and such should be taken at that stage.
Thank you. And finally, the proposal seems to rest heavily on the CQ Capra's partnership using the facility. However, there is no formal partnership at the moment, and as you explained, it's going to be a training facility, but for how long? Until such time that there's another facility that will obviously be bigger and better? Is that what's going to happen?
Look, I guess the conversations that I've had with the school and with Peter White, the CEO of Capra's, they're looking for a home, they're looking for a permanent base. So the intention and, with this development, I guess the conversations I've had with both parties would suggest that this is going to be their long-term solution for the purpose of training. I mean, like I mentioned, their home base and their sponsorship still reside with the Leagues Club over at Brown Park, and that's obviously set up for formal games. But their training and the infrastructure that's proposed here would they've suggested that to be a long-term solution. So, and we can talk to them more about that in detail when we look at those MOUs if we go down that path.
Okay, because at the workshop we had, that wasn't the impression I got from discussions I had with them.
Just to add to that one, Mr Chair, as well, like as Justin said, Capra's, I guess, have been wanting for this home base for some time, or expanded facilities. So at this point in time, because there's limited options around, they're looking for any avenue that they can work with. Should a new facility open, that would be something that be addressed at that time. But I think we can all agree that it's not any short-term thing on the horizon that's going to give us a new facility anywhere.
Thank you. Councillor Mathers.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. I just wanted to mention, similar to what you were saying about the proposed car parking there, running into Blackhall Street, I think it is. I'm mindful of the fact that, with what we've been talking about with upgrades to Botanical Garden and that type of thing, that, if we were to propose a southern entrance, that would be directly in that area.
Yes, again, there's that, there's still that master planning that we're working through at the moment, but yeah, it's something there for consideration. Again, that was a reason why I questioned that area there, that it doesn't become fenced off or something there that's part of this development. We need to be mindful of that. And again, that had come through. And the other question that was answered there was through a DA lodgement that we can address that at that time.
That's right, Mr Mayor, through the chair. Yes, as they currently, with their current lease and their trustee lease in the area, the car park, they're proposing that they might even, as part of that development work, they would enhance that and improve that. But they're not looking to encroach into that or take over any kind of ownership within the lease. So that would be purely through the DA. Anything that they propose in there would be via a improvement works application. So basically any party or any club or group that want to do improvement to council facility or land, they go through that standard DA process, and basically it's governed through that. So it's safeguarded through that process.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Similar points about the car park. If we're going to be putting a future road through there, just to make sure that that's factored in. With the DA, of course, rigorous community engagement, because there are going to be impacts with not only traffic but lighting and noise and all that sorts of things. So just to make sure that that's covered off, which I'm sure it will be. But mostly to do with the koala fodder trees, and we looked at that at some length on our excursion out there. Now, we've got some freehold land that I understand, this is up along Blackhall Street Extended, that council owns, and I think we didn't actually land on what we're going to do with those properties, other than I think Grammar School have already purchased 3 or 4 of those lots because their existing car park at the side of the clubhouse already encroaches on that, so I think that's already been settled. But what to do with the balance of them, I just had this idea that perhaps that could be factored into the plan as well, that's where the Grammar School assist in setting up a new koala fodder plantation. It'd screen off residents, not really Blackhall Street, but on that side of those freeholds, from the lighting and the noise to a degree. It's a bit on a slope, so it's probably not ideal for building on, and may present some difficulties in harvesting the trees, but I think it's done by hand anyway, so it's not a vehicle thing. So I'm just wondering at this point, do we factor that in and say, if grammar schools' expectation is that they assist with re-establishing a koala fodder plantation somewhere, that we look at that area, it solves the problem, what to do with it, and it's still close to the zoo to harvest, and that would be their contribution?
Yeah, Councillor, it may be something there that we need to have a further report on. There may be other options that are more suitable rather than being on a hill sort of thing, but I'll let Alicia make a comment.
Through the chair, I'm okay with us making the requirements that they assist us, but not necessarily tagging those pieces of land. I think there's probably a number of options, but I know that they've put it in terms of budget submissions to try and get something else established. But if you're thinking screening trees, like if you recall what Liz had said, needs to be kept at a very low height so that things can be harvested, so possibly not serving that purpose.
But again, that may be something considered in the development application about screening that area anyway, as part of that application, not technically for the koala fodder, but for the neighbours and so forth, yeah.
And I just want to make sure too that when we're looking at how many trees are in the negotiation, there's not one for every one that we miss, because they're quite mature trees. Even though they're docked down, they have a lot of foliage come off them, so it's not like a little seedling for every one that's lost. It might be some other mathematics on that.
Yeah, through the chair, that's exactly right, and that's and the school understands that. So when we're talking about setting conditions in their lease, that it needs to be established and an alternative source, so up to a point where it can be harvested from, certainly, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rutherford?
Yeah, Justin, I just wondered, can you remind me when the third field was scheduled for development?
Through the chair, sorry, yes. So the third field, they've got a couple of concepts. So in the option 1, which is the long-term plan, the third field is separated, but in the short-term plan, so if hypothetically, if we were to resolve to a certain point their capital development plan to say that, there won't be an encroachment, for example, their third field would overlap the second field currently. Basically, I'm not real good with my directions, I do apologise, Council, but so on the top right, it would basically overlap that existing second field to the west of that neighbours the Botanics. So you'd have the main field, and then the second field that runs parallel with the plantation. That third field would cross the goal line. So that's what their concept looks like at this point. So I haven't seen anything more beyond that. That's where the third field would sit. Yeah, so in the attachments on the capital development plan, thanks.
But was the question about the timing of it, I think?
The timing?
Yeah.
So, sorry, yes, apologies, through the chair. That's in their short term. So, look, they haven't given a structured timeline for any of these activities, and I think that's why they're looking to council, because naturally there's a significant amount of investment. So without that renewal, so their priority is obviously that renewal, and as part of the resolution today is to seek that extended renewal term on the trustee lease. From there, they will come back to us with a schedule, and as a part of that renewal, the conditions being set, we would set those timeframes. So something such as the third field and those items listed in stage 1 would have a timeframe set at that point through negotiations.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm really torn on this one. I think the development is great, but it is Botanic Gardens land, and I don't think you ever give Botanic Gardens land away lightly. And to me, the only reason you'd give it away is for something that we don't have. Now, the argument can be made that the third field is something we don't have and we desperately need, 3 fields in one location. So I would accept that argument, but if that third field's not to be developed for 10 or 15 years, then I don't see any point in extending the lease at this point in time. That could be done at some point in the future when they're ready to do that third field, because otherwise we've given a leased area much larger than they need at this point, part of which is the Botanic Gardens, for something that could change or not be delivered down the track, and that's a real risk for us, I believe.
Through the chair, I think that that's a great I guess bit of feedback, and it's something certainly to consider. And I guess the hinging point in that is the placement of the third field. So dependent on the extended leased area, will dictate where that third field resides on the property. So if we weren't to encroach into the botanics, its location would basically overlap. You can see there on the left there where the existing field is. It would sit down lower and overlap on that. Whereas if we do provide that encroachment and that extended lease area, that second field currently would be moved across, and then the third field would be placed in an alternative location. So I guess that's the hinging part for them as to where that third field would sit, dependent on that.
Look, I take on board those concerns, and we're going through a master plan for the botanics and the zoo at the moment, and that's a 50-year vision. And this area really hasn't come up as options for us looking at that. That said, I think a 30-year term's not giving away anything. I mean, that's a 30-year lease. It's still retained by council at some point in time, and they're always able to review that and remove it. So I think the request from Rockhampton Grammar is really to look at giving them the foundations to build on this third field, and I know they haven't given us timelines on that, but I think this will set the wheels in motion to start the development as quick as they possibly can. Because from hearing from them, they believe that's their preferred position, is to get to that point in some point in time. So this is really just setting the foundations to deliver on that. I don't really see the timing of the extension of the lease as being critical in any decision if we hold off on it to a later point rather than granting it at this point, because of our master planning not looking into the next 50 years that it's going to be something that's relevant to the table at that point.
Mr Mayor, if I could, this really has nothing to do with our master planning of the Botanic Gardens. The Botanic Gardens, to me, is there for future generations. It should be there for 100 years down the track, 200 years down the track, and not for our generation to give away the land lightly, particularly if it's...
Council, we're not giving away the land, though.
If it's not going to be delivered, if a project is not going to be delivered. The only thing in this project that really benefits the broader community is that third field. So that is really, really critical to this project and the delivery. And if it's not going to be delivered, or it's not
no
going
one's saying
to be
it's not going to be delivered, Councillor. I'd say they're asking for a 30-year term to be able to deliver it. That's the idea of the lease, is to giving them the foundation to be able to deliver it. And again, it's not giving away council land. That part of it is a 30-year lease, and it's always something that's not out of council's ownership. It's still only a lease. It's not selling the land or giving it away to somebody else. It's still part of the council land. And that, like I say, in our 50-year plan, there's no intention for council to do anything with that corridor other than sit there. And for all intents and purposes, on that site plan, when we walked around it, you would have thought that was part of their development anyway. The fence runs along where their existing fields are anyway. So if it wasn't anyone, if you didn't look at it as a plan and knew that it was Botanic Garden land, to the layman, it would look like it was part of that Diggers Park area anyway.
Yeah, I suspect a lot of the Botanic Gardens is like that. A lot of the Botanic Gardens Reserve is like that at this point in
Understood. But Councillor, you get your...
I've got a couple of other questions, if I can.
Through the Chair, if I could just respond back to that one. So it is in there, the third field is in their short-term plan, and that's one of the big stressor points in terms of the... because they indicated that the fields as they are getting too much use, so they need that third field. But the intention would be that we make that a stipulation of the lease document. We can bring those conditions back through council in terms of the timeframe, so that should those fields not be delivered, well then the lease comes back, and that's triggered that, has that trigger, so we can cancel.
And I guess the devil is always a little in the detail with this, and I do pick up on the point that Councillor Latcham made, that this will be a significant change to the residents in that area, very much so, particularly when there's 3 fields under light. I do wonder about Three Fields under lights so close to the airport? Is there an issue with that?
Through the chair, Councillor, that's certainly something that the school and through the development applications they will manage. So that again, the community consultation and the time of use. So I have started those conversations, scratching the surface with the school as to what their utilisation would be post-development if it was to go forward in comparison to current, because obviously we do need to be mindful of the surrounding residents. They have provided a report, and I've forwarded it through, and look, we're happy to share that. I haven't unpacked that entirely yet, but we have made them very aware that through the development applications, there will be considerations around that. So I'd have to work with the planning team, or we'd have to work with the planning team to understand how that's measured and managed, so that those community stakeholders are considered.
I suspect, I have no doubt that that will happen, but I am worried about if we know, if our planners can tell us that lights are not going to be allowed there, then that's something we should tell them straight away due to the airport, the proximity to the airport. That's something we should be able to deal with straight away.
Yeah, through the chair, and I can take that back and certainly ask that specific question. There are existing lights already on the main field of the facility, so there's already 4 tower lights, I think, minimal there.
Yeah.
So some applications, providing it's been done correctly, would have had to apply to, I guess, those impacts for the airport. So, but I'll take that back and seek some further advice specific to that, certainly.
And then I guess because of the residents, if there is some sort of caveat over the properties that as many trees as possible remain there, because I think that will be vital to the residents that are surrounding that area, that a lot of that vegetation remains. I think that's where that's the environment they've enjoyed. So I think we need to be very, very careful about how much of that is changed in the development. Now, obviously, some will have to be removed for the development, but to retain as much as possible of the natural environment around there, I think is important. And then just finally, Mr. Mayor, was once again the car parking, and more so for if we're looking at Three Fields here and we're looking at major carnivals, then we need to be sure that there is enough car parking to accommodate that. So we need to look at different areas, and there are spaces available through there for car parking that would certainly help car parking for both this development and the Botanic Gardens into the future. So I think that's discussions we need to have with them as well.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Smith?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. When we met with the representatives of the school that day, and I was a bit concerned about the koala trees, but when we walked the site, Liz sort of explained that the trees have been allowed to grow too tall, and we can't use them anyway for koala feed. They've got to be fairly small, so I sort of stopped worrying then. But I don't know if there's any trees there that they usually sort of explained they were very fussy. They've got to have a certain breed of tree to eat, and that we weren't using those trees at the moment. But obviously, land that we could use, but those really big trees, we wouldn't want to cut them down anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair. Certainly, we with the workshop or the site visit, the excursion that we undertook, prior to that, officers attended, and we actually did identify that there's about 50% of the plantation at the moment that's currently utilised, and with the remaining that is overgrown and they're not currently harvesting from. So certainly that was something to consider too. But in saying that, the zoo, Liz, the curator of the zoo, obviously would like to see that, and through our budget submissions, we are looking at trying to find an alternative that's actually going to far exceed that current plantation naturally. But in saying that, we don't want to reduce our access to, koala fodder any more than we already have. So whilst it's maybe minimal, it's still vital, and we've made that very clear to the school that an alternative food source would need to be established before we even touch what is still harvested there, certainly. Thank you.
Okay, councillors, I think we've exhausted all the questions on that one, so I'll look for a mover in a second with regards to it. Oh, Councillor Rutherford.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, there was just the gymnasium area there. I'm guessing reserve land, once again, if that gymnasium's looking at external members and it becomes a commercial operation, I don't think that's allowed on that site.
No.
So,
Through the chair, certainly. The assets and the infrastructure, that whether it's a gymnasium, whether it's the meeting rooms and that, it would all be Rockhampton Grammar School that develop and utilise and own that. It wouldn't be for, I guess it would be similar to current clubs, their clubhouse and their facilities where, it is for their purpose. It is, they have the ownership and responsibility for it, but it's not a commercial basis that it's used for. The CQ Cuppa is a part of the MOU, so there is a gymnasium in that section. As part of the MOU, they would have access to it to utilise, but it wouldn't be then commercialised to the general public at all, no.
can we please make sure that there is a clear understanding from them that that's the case, because in previous times it wasn't. People were of the belief that they could open to membership and then found out they couldn't. So, they need to know exactly what rules they have to abide by.
Once again, that in that development application process, in terms of hours of operation and clientele, all of those things are in that proposal.
Covered off there. Yep. Okay, thank you. Seek a mover and a seconder with regards to the recommendation. Move Councillor Wickerson. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Smith. Councillors, I'd just like to firstly support the application, and again I think it's something there that our facilities over time have deteriorated, and to see something like this where there's a school and a club willing to invest to bring it up to a standard for our athletes and elite sports, I think it's something there that we do support, being mindful that there are issues there that we need to consider as far as the neighbours and where that development actually occurs and what happens and when. Again, mindful of our koala needs as well, our family of koalas there. So again, it's something there that really will enhance the sport in the region going forward. So on that, councillors, if there's no issues, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? You want to record that? Record Councillor Latcham's vote against that one. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through the Chair, Council. Thank you.
Councillors, we'll do one more item, then take a recess if that's okay. This is another one that's got some great outcomes moving forward. Item 10.5, food organics and green garden organics. Peter? Oh, sorry, Michael online there. Michael, would you like to present that report, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor, and hopefully you can hear me. And good morning, councillors. You can hear me okay?
Yes, we can, and thank you, Michael. Good morning.
Yeah, great, thank you. So yeah, look, further to the workshop that we had in the middle of March, where we went through the project proposal and the sort of the financials and diversion outcomes that ultimately by implementing a food and garden organic service would provide the community. Council was invited by the state government to submit a funding proposal, and this report is, and Council, Rockhampton Regional Council was one of 4 councils in Queensland that was invited by the state to make a funding proposal, and we have made that submission to the state, and this report is just seeking suitable endorsement from Council for that application that has gone to the state. What we're not seeking today is Council endorsement to actually undertake the trial or to sign any funding agreement that may come from the state. We will certainly come back to Council before that was to occur, and to seek further resolution to actually undertake the trial and to sign any funding agreement that may be forthcoming. With that, I might just happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks very much, Michael. Councillor Latcham, as the Portfolio Chair, would you like to?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I fully support this It's where the industry is heading. It's good to see that the state is being proactive in trialling this first before they do roll it out statewide. And I think Rockhampton Regional Council is in an ideal geographic location to trial this, and hopefully we'll get the big tick to give this a trial with our community. And the results of that would obviously then help the state work out how it can be rolled out.
Thank you. Councillor Kirkland.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I echo those sentiments of Councillor Latchman. I think this is an exciting opportunity for Rockhampton to be able to trial this, and there's certainly sentiment from the community for us to find a way to deal with that organic waste, and this is a very, very good start.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, firstly there, with this, I've got to commend the staff at Rockhampton Waste and Recycling and the Chairman, Councillor Latcham, because there has been a lot of work that has gone in the lead up to this, and I think it's that leadership that has been shown has set us in a really good way. But I'd like to actually give a little bit more of a background, because as the state government has been developing their policy directions to taking our state to a zero waste communities, what has always happened to date has been everything has been trialled in the southeast corner, and it was the exceptional work that both Rockhampton Regional Council and Townsville City Council have done has actually shown that as far as developing a circular economy, and this is part of that development of a circular economy, we are at the very pointy end of the state, and a lot of what will come out of these trials will actually go as part of the legislation. So really I think this, and Mr CEO, I think you could take a lot of pride in the work that is happening in our council, because we are at a point there where governments are actually looking to the great work we're doing for policy. Now, all my time on council, I've never seen that up until recent times. So got to commend everyone involved in this project. Is really good, and I would love to second this motion to the Chairman.
Thanks, Councillor Fisher. Councillor Mathers.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Look, I am in agreement as well. I think it's a great project and something that we should, we should be proud of. And I'm probably just jumping forward with this because I'm a bit of a figures person. I was just looking, so and maybe Michael might be able to answer this, but I just see that if we do go ahead with the trial, that we've got 750 bins at about almost $40,000 in cost. I was just wondering, obviously understanding that 250 of those bins would need to be for green waste. Is there any reason why we can't just change the lid of the bin for the trial? We could save ourselves almost $26,000 if we just changed the existing bins, the lid of the bins for the trial. That's all I wanted to ask.
Yes, Mark.
Yeah, through the chair, Councillor Mathers. Yeah, that is a good point, and the logistics of doing that is something that we're also looking at. If we get to the point, and hopefully we do, where we look to roll out this service across the region, we're also looking at the logistics of how we may be able to do that for the whole region, not just for this trial. So that's something we're still working on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, councillors, we've exhausted the questions. We might go to debate. Councillor Latcham, happy to move. Seconded Councillor Fisher. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks, councillors. Look, I reckon we could squeeze one more in. 10.6, the Smart Hub operational plan. Sorry, it was my bad. I shouldn't have put that tip out there that we were going to go for a recess. Do they? Oh, okay. Oh, look, we might call the recess, councillors. Sorry, Drew. I didn't realise there was a presentation with this report, but if we can call a 10-minute recess and come back and resume the meeting, we'll do that now. Thanks very much. My apologies. I need a seconder for that one. Seconded Councillor Fisher. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Again, my
not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Yeah. Councillor, I'll move to resume the meeting. I'll move and seek a seconder. Seconded Councillor Kirkland. I'll put those in favour. Carried. Councillors, it was very remiss of me. I do apologise with that previous report on the Diggers Park and Rockhampton Grammar School project, and the portfolio chair, Councillor Rutherford, I didn't recognise her at the start of that report and the work that she'd undertaken over the last 3 years to get that project to where it is currently. My apologies, Councillor, for not recognising that during that issue. So I'd just like to make that formal. Again, something of my bad I overlooked, and I do apologise for that. Okay, moving on to item 10.6, the Smart Hub Operational Plan 2021-2023. Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and good morning, councillors. Thanks for the opportunity to present our plan for the next 2 years. The foresight of this council has seen the Smart Hub lead the way for small business. And Elise and the team have put together the strategic priorities to build on the excellent results of the previous years in stimulating and supporting the growth of the startup ecosystem and small business community. So I won't steal any more of Elise's thunder, and I'll hand you over to our Smart Hub Business Manager to the presentation of the op plan.
Thanks very much, Drew.
Good morning, Mr Mayor and councillors. I can't believe it's been 3 years since I last stood in this room to present to you at that time the 2018 to 2020 operational plan. And here I am again to present to you not only the results that we achieved in executing that plan, but also to present to you our new plan, the 2021 to 23 plan, for your approval. Now, that wasn't meant to happen at all. There we go, that's better. As you know, the Smart Hub is a key economic outcome of Rockhampton Regional Council's Smart Way Forward strategy. That is our digital readiness strategy and our smart city strategy, and it was adopted by Council in December of 2015. This strategy has led us to build the Smart Hub over the last 4 years. It first operated temporarily out of 212 Key Street, and now it found its permanent home in Customs House. So the Smart Hub exists to support entrepreneurs and people in business to create and grow local and global businesses. In fact, the Smart Hub's vision is to be the home of our people in business and to provide the resources required for our businesses to succeed. And we've been doing that over the last 4 years. And really, the Smart Hub has not only been the centre of resources for businesses to access, but also the centre of what we've called an innovation ecosystem. And so the way in which we've built this innovation ecosystem was, in the previous op plan, this might look a little bit familiar, we followed this model called an Up Global model. And really this model said that there were 5 pillars to an innovation ecosystem. And you can see them there: talent, density, capital, culture and government. And on each pillar you can see the strategies that we've been executing across those pillars in achieving results and building an innovation ecosystem and helping and supporting our businesses to grow and to succeed. And what I'd like to share with you is the results of this work. So, as you can see, we've been very, very busy at the Smart Hub, and here's a snapshot of the results that we've achieved. Our broader membership has grown by 185%, from 35 members to 100 members, and these are paying members. Then our broader community has grown by over 200%. We currently have 3,400 social media followers across our platforms. We have 1,500 subscribers on our database. Then between July 2019 and 2020, the Smart Hub hosted 253 events, which saw 6,078 people attend those events. We also saw 92 pitches during that last financial year. But really, the greatest outcomes is not what we've done, but it's what our members have achieved. And it's what the people who are at the coalface of building business in our region every day, they are the champions, and what they're achieving is really the results that I'd like to share with you. And so, from my perspective, we can measure 2 things. Number one, we can measure the revenue that they contribute to our local economy, and secondly, we can really measure the jobs that they create. And that's really tricky to measure unless we ask them. So I made a bold decision at the end of the last financial year in May 2020, and I decided to do just that, and to ask direct questions about how much money were you making and how many people were you employing. Well, we asked 100 members and only 35 people were game enough to tell us. It did take a bit of cajoling to get the information, but really, this is what we saw. 35 of our members have contributed in excess of $9.2 million to our local economy in the last financial year, and they also created 155 jobs. What the work we're doing at the Smart Hub is working for the businesses in our local community. And that gave me a bit of an understanding of what was happening in the Smart Hub community. But I wanted to broaden my vision and look at the whole of our economy and look at what other businesses were doing, even if they weren't plugged into the Smart Hub. And so it led me to do some research and some data analysis. And we looked at 2 bits of research the GEM data as well as QRIP data, and there's a lot of detail around this research in the actual operational plan. I just put a bit of a snapshot of some of the graphs that are available on this slide, but basically this is what the research shows. Innovation matters. In short, the research highlights the importance of the need for innovation. And not only in our region, not only to ensure that economic growth for now, but also economic stability in the medium term. The world is constantly changing, and as a result, the way in which business is done must evolve and change. Organisations today face a market of constant instability and disruption due to significant changes in the customer demographics and behaviour, technology and regulations. This situation not only provides opportunities for our business community to find innovative ways to grow, but it actually demands them to innovate and change. And without innovation, businesses risk losing market position and revenue to more forward-thinking and agile competitors. And the QRIP data specifically clearly showed that innovation affords better financial performance with significantly higher sales from new products and services and higher profit and growth more generally. Innovators also displayed higher labour and capital productivity and increased market share compared to non-innovators. Innovation really, really does matter. And so in looking at that, looking at where we've come from, looking at where we are as a SmartHub community, looking at our broader economy, I thought about setting 2 new strategic priorities for this operational plan. And here they are. In short, they boil down to, number 1, encourage more businesses to start and also to grow. Not just start, because it's really easy for a business to start and fail, but for a business to start and grow and stay in our local economy. Secondly, the other strategic objective that I think we've set is the fact that we need to encourage existing business community to adopt technology and innovation. Not because it's a buzzword, not because it's a good thing to do, but because of how the world is changing. We have no choice. We have to become more innovative. We have to move with the times. And so, as you would have seen in the previous op plan, and I showed you that little house model, we used the Up Global model with 5 pillars, and really I went in search of a new model that was a little bit more sophisticated in helping us execute the next level of this work. And so we landed on the Pearson model, and you'll see that it has 7 pillars as opposed to 5. And those 7 pillars are ideas, growth support, culture and infrastructure, market access, talent, financial capital. And those 6 pillars centre around the central pillar, which is leadership, collaboration and connectivity. And I'd just like to quickly highlight the strategies that we're going to execute across those 7 pillars to be able to build each of those pillars, but also to build the system as a whole. And here's a bit of a snapshot. So under ideas, we're hoping to host more ideas events. So ideation days, startup weekends, GovHack and as such. For growth support, we want to continue to provide and provide more early stage business coaching and mentoring. This is absolutely critical for business success. If you have someone who has the knowledge to help you along the way, it helps and hold you accountable for taking the actions that need to be taken and help you problem solve. It makes all the difference. Run other accelerator, incubator and other programs. We ran amazing programs last year and the years before, including the Turbo Traction Lab and CQ Meets Accelerator and a host of others. We want to take that to the next level and run similar programs. Culture and infrastructure. Establish Rockhampton Regional Council Innovation Awards. I really thought long and hard about how can we change the culture in our community to be more open towards innovation, and how can we celebrate the success of what's already happening. And I think this awards, maybe in collaboration with Advanced Rocky, will help us to establish more of an open mindset around innovation and also give us the opportunity to show them what innovation is and that they're probably already being innovative in their businesses and how to encourage more innovation. Then market access. So market access really indicates how can we get access to more customers. And so we've launched what's called the SmartHub Club, and the SmartHub Club is an innovative approach that we're doing ourselves in encouraging our members and facilitating our members to collaborate with each other, pass opportunities to each other and do strategic and alliances and joint ventures together. Encourage corporate memberships. Corporates actually have deep access to markets, existing markets, and it's really good when you put corporates and new businesses together because they can leverage off each other. And then talent. We want to enlarge our mentoring program. We have an existing number of incredible mentors that are situated across Australia. We want to enlarge that and give our members more access to great mentoring. Facilitate and support youth entrepreneurship. We continue to work tirelessly to ensure that we have a pipeline of people who can create their own jobs and don't just rely on other people to provide employment for them. And expand the Seeker University internship program, which we've already started. We're working with the IT department currently, and we'd like to expand that further also into the business part of the university. So financial capital. At the moment, we have a Rockhampton Angel Group. We'd like to expand that. We're providing access to our members to angel capital, venture capital. We also want to establish a panel of banks and accountants in our region. And then finally, leadership, collaboration and connectivity. And to be honest, this is the one that I'm probably the most concerned about doing. But I think that it's hard when the Smart Hub owns or is perceived to own innovation in our region. And there is really a strict limit to what our little team of 3 people can do. And so what I see is the opportunity for us to collaborate. Oh, I'm losing my earrings. Is to collaborate, sorry about that. To collaborate, oh, it's fine. To collaborate more generally, thank you so much. To collaborate more generally across our region. We need leaders in the region to be part of innovation. We need all of the people in economic development to be part of innovation. We need other people in business to say, yes, it's good to be innovative, it's good to move with the times, it's good to adopt technology, it's good to look at how we can stay viable and relevant in Rocky. Whether we'll be able to get that done is a different question, but we'll give it our best go. On top of that, we also have to do some marketing things. So we're going to incorporate the customer value journey, launch the Smart Hub website, audit our social media channels, establish a Facebook community, and also establish a referral program. And the other part of the story is we can't stop doing what we've done to date. And so this is really the big picture. We have to do everything that we've done to date. On top of that, we have to take on these new initiatives. And we also have to do great marketing. And if we're able to execute all of this together, we'll be able to make a really big impact and a difference to our business community. Because in the end, I have a heart for people in business. I have a heart for people who stand up every day, take responsibility for other people, for creating employment and for contributing revenue to our community. We have to look after those people. They are amazing people. So here are our goals. 140 Smart Hub members, 3,000 people on our mailing list, 80 external bookings, high event attendance rates, increased awareness and credibility in our local community, a changed mindset of our local business community, the promotion of Smart Hub members, increased revenue, increased social media activity, an online presence that is credible, interesting, including storytelling and is valuable to our target market, and positive awareness in local, state and national government, as well as national and international entrepreneurial communities. And even though that seems like a very ambitious thing to do, we've already made some great inroads in that. And that Rockhampton is known across Australia and even in some instances internationally as a place where you can build a really interesting startup and a good business. And so in conclusion, I'd like to say the Smart Hub is a valuable and valued economic development strategy that this council has had the foresight to support. And I would like to thank you for that support, because without your support we couldn't have done and can't continue to do the valuable work that is making such a huge difference to the people of our community. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present this plan to you today.
Very passionate presentation, I thought. That's well delivered, but thanks very much.
It's just a normal Tuesday morning.
And thanks very much for that. Councillors, questions? Councillor Smith?
Oh, just no question, but just a comment. I'd like to congratulate you, Elise, and the Smart Hub. Great feedback that I get. I was at a Capricorn Chamber of Commerce coffee catch-up only a few weeks ago, and a lady has got a business with you, and she's so passionate about everything in the Smart Hub. She was telling everybody about the Smart Hub, you know, and how happy she was to be there, and what great assistance she gets to start her own business. She didn't have the confidence to start her own business before that. So, yeah, congratulations. And I think I zoomed in on one of your productions, when you had all the, I just forget what you called it now, but it was absolutely fantastic. I think I've done it twice. The traction, yeah. And that was absolutely wonderful. And so congratulations on
Thank
what
you so much.
you're doing. And I think we're one of only a few councils that even do anything like this. So I think we've really led the way in the Smart Hub and getting people into business.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that feedback. Thank you. And thank you again for being champions for this initiative. It's really amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, nurturing those entrepreneurs is something there that we need that process going forward, but the operational plan will allow that to occur. Again, there'll be some budget decisions, but again, that's something there we realise, and through that presentation, fully aware about what the successes have been, but what the future holds in that space is something there that we'll take in consideration moving forward. Okay, councillors. Councillor Kirkland, a question?
Oh, thank you, Mr Chair. Yes, I really wanted to echo the sentiments of Councillor Smith and congratulate you, Elise, and your team. And also, within your operational plan, was excited to see the innovation awards that you're proposing. I think that's a great idea. We are in an era of innovation, and to encourage that in the Rockhampton region and have somebody who's focused on encouraging that is a really good thing. So I was pleased to see that aspect included and look forward to its delivering.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, councillors, could we have a mover and a seconder with regards to that? Move Councillor Fisher, seconded Councillor Smith. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried? I was a bit too quick there with the name. Sorry, Linda. Okay, moving on to item 10.7. Councillors, again, this is an update on the portfolio vacancies and their titles. We've had a request to change some of the names on the portfolio to try and give them a better representation there. Look, I've got some thoughts around some of the changes and where we're going with this. So, if you allow and give me the indulgence, I'll go through some of the discussions that I've had, and then from there we can go to the floor. Now, saying that, we'll look to the person or the chairperson or portfolio person in there, but then looking at Advance Rockhampton, I do have an idea and it's something that's evolving about how we can start to work on projects with a number of councillors there to work and promote those goals going forward. So, if I might just allow that to go to work through that with some names and some changes, and then we'll take it from there, if that's okay. So, firstly, with Advance Rockhampton, I'd like to be the portfolio spokesperson for Advance Rocky and events. And then moving on to waste and recycling, Councillor Latcham retain that position. Airport and growth development, which will be just airport, Councillor Fisher. Now, infrastructure is was my previous portfolio, which the name change will go to transport and drainage. I was hoping Councillor Smith would take on that portfolio. And then moving on to planning and regulation, Councillor Smith, that becomes vacant, turning it to planning and regulation. So Councillor Mathers with that portfolio as a new councillor, moving into that space. Sports, park and public spaces, Councillor Rutherford retain that area. Communities, Councillor Wickerson, and then water and environmental sustainability, Councillor Kirkland. So that was my thoughts on where we were going with the portfolios. Now I'm happy to open it up to the floor and take it from there, if that's okay. Councillor Wickerson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've had a previous chat with Alicia. This is more to do with the op plan and strategic plan that we haven't, even though we've got lots of heritage elements, pardon me, that we come under our fold, and even yesterday we had a chat to the heritage rail people that want some assistance. So we've got lots of pockets of heritage happening around, but no real focus or area of responsibility that sits under. Sort of historically, it sits with communities, with Heritage Village, of course, and Archer Park Rail Station and others. But just to identify heritage as a distinct element that council is focused on moving forward, I wouldn't mind adding that to communities.
In the name?
In the title, just make communities and heritage. It just flags to the broader community that we are focused on that moving forward.
Yep, I'm not opposed to that, if that's okay. So we can add that to the name there. Now, councillors, there are assistants in portfolio areas. So at this stage with tourism, I know Councillor Rutherford has spoken to me about that one, but if I could just leave that one at the moment as we're still in some discussions with external groups. So and we could come back to that one if that doesn't eventuate. But I know Councillor Latcham was keen to work with Councillor Fisher in the airport space. So if Councillor Latcham would like to take on that assistance role. And councillors, I haven't. Was there someone else that made an approach? Councillor Wickerson or Councillor Smith? Sorry.
No, I'm right. No, I was just thinking I'd like to be the assistant for planning and regulation, just to help Councillor Mather on the way, because it is a huge portfolio.
Yep. No, I think that those synergies are great to work on that. So if that's okay, we'll put Councillor Smith down with planning and regulations. Councillor Rutherford, and then Councillor Wickerson.
I would have an interest in being assistant at communities and heritage.
Yep. Councillor Wickerson.
And I'd like to be assistant for environment too,
That's
if Councillor Kirkland will have me. Obviously, still have interests there.
Okay.
Feel free to object if you.
And I'm happy to work with Councillor Smith. I won't need to go on there, but with transport and drainage as an area that I've had a lot of involvement in for, and to work with that one. So, Councillor, that's probably a wrap up of that one, and do we need to appoint that? No, that second item, that's fine to drop that off. Is that okay? Okay, councillors, I'll see a few lights on, so I'll throw to that. Councillor Rutherford.
I was just wondering whether we can go back to parks, sport and public spaces as the title.
Yep.
Please.
Yep. That's
just,
fine.
And with
Parks,
just the comma, not the ands. Yeah,
parks, sport
and public spaces.
Yep.
And my comment was just with transport and drainage. Transport, to me, gives the opinion of vehicles, buses, and I'm not sure that's what we want to be telling our
Did you want to leave it at infrastructure, Councillor?
I
Yeah, let's leave it back at infrastructure if that's okay. I think that really, it's not a long title, but one that can cover there.
That people relate to.
Yeah, take drainage out. Thanks, Linda. Yes. Councillor Smith?
Oh, I just want to comment, Mr. Chair, that you've left big shoes to fill in infrastructure. So, I suppose everyone knows that I really wanted a change, like from dogs and cats and local laws and pest management and whatever else. But now I'm really sad that I won't be talking about dogs and cats anymore.
Yeah. It's no, and again, I think it's great that we're able to have a chance to have a bit of a rethink and a reset on some of these ones. But again, it's a lot of work that's gone into those portfolios over the years, and you do take a lot of responsibility on in those roles. So again, Councillor Mathers, you've got big shoes to fill in that space. It's one, but again, it's a great learning curve to come onto council and start in those portfolios areas. You'll find that there's great opportunity to learn and build in those efforts that have been previously taken forward. Councillor Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say thanks very much for making something available for me, so I appreciate it. And Councillor Smith, thank you.
Councillor Fisher.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I reckon there's a really good group of committee chairs around the table. I think this is only going to just improve things, even take council to the next level. I think that this is going to work really well, and I know Councillor Mathers there is going to be a great planning chair, but also there he now gets, is it the brass flying fox? as the leader for the Councillor for Flying Foxes. So welcome to that. I'd also sort of like to say, look, I would, if I could be the assistant with the waste and recycling,
yes.
But really they're not in the strategic side of waste and recycling, which would sort of dovetail in with my work with Lawmax. So really keen to sort of focus on that area. We've got a very, very good chair in waste and recycling, but in that section, and commend your proposal, Mr. Mayor.
No worries. Thanks very much, Councillor Fisher. Well, I'll move as those positions. Seek a seconder. Seconded, Councillor Fisher. I'll put that to the table. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks very much, councillors. That's a great result, I believe. Moving on to the next item, 10.8, the appointment of representatives to external organisations. So, okay, so I'll ask Ross to walk through this one if we can, councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the absence of Damon, I'll present this report that was raised, lifted from the matters left on the table this morning. We're still looking for the appointments, and we also have the wording now for which is separated for the disaster management group. So we're looking for that appointment as well.
Okay.
So,
thanks.
yeah, once
Thanks,
again,
Ross.
it's up to the table, Mr.
To
Chair.
go through, yep, rightio. The Museum of Art and Philanthropy Board, Councillor Wickerson.
I'd like to nominate myself.
Happy to move on to that one. That's that's one where traditionally I think it was the mayor, but yeah, it's not my. I've got enough on my plate at the moment without that one. The Queensland Futures Institute, and it's one that we're still involved in, but we may come back at those ones. I think we're still part of the budget discussion, so I'll continue in that role. And similar with the Regional Capitals Australia one. Now, the Rockhampton Regional Roads and Transport Group, I chair that one, but I'll seek an assistant. So, Councillor Smith, would you like to join partner in that one? I think it's important as far as road networks and the wider CQ area. I'm also a member for the University Rural Clinic School. I think that was one that we'd started up one, and also both with the Rockhampton Progress Association Inc. I'm not sure whether that one will continue or not, but at this point it's just something for record that I participated in the public meeting, but I joined as part of the entry was being membership. So I'll record that at the moment, but whether I'll continue in that role is uncertain. Now, the appointment of the chair to the local disaster and deputy chair for the local disaster management group, Councillor Wickerson has indicated interest in that position, and Councillor Fisher stepping down as the deputy chair. Councillor Wickerson's involvement with the SES and in that space is keen to work with those synergies in that area. So that really does wrap up that side of it. As far as the previous decisions, I don't see, is there any changes there that we need to be made, or is it just basically those? No, I think they're all pretty much the same as what they were, councillors. So with that, Councillor Smith.
We're talking these previous decisions. Just with the Capricorn Pest Management Group, Councillor Kirkland has been a great supporter of CPMG, but unfortunately she's so busy with other meetings she hasn't been able to attend. So can I change that to Councillor Mathers and myself, because I'm still the treasurer of the organisation? I'm happy to hand it over, but I still have an interest in pest management.
Okay, no, that's...
I'm happy for
with that,
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor
very.
Kirkland?
Yep. Could I just add to that, if I will?
Yes.
Councillor Mathers, it will be the most fun group that you could ever hope to be a part of, guaranteed.
Again, another great opportunity to learn learn a bit more about local government, Councillor Mathers. Sorry, hardly hear. Yes, yep. And remove Councillor Kirkland from that one. Okay. Now, Councillor Fisher.
Yes, I was just going to just once again reaffirm that we do need to look at the value of a couple of these groups like the regional capitals, and I would like to encourage Council to look at it as being part of the Queensland Regional Council of Mayors. I think that has got a lot more value for us moving forward regionally, working collaboratively with regional Queensland, rather than sort of looking at how we actually sort of become a small player in a national group rather than being one of the big players in a state group. I think that would have more benefit. So just like to urge that in that discussion.
Yeah, that can be taken up at that time, Councillor, and understand the point made there. Oh, I'll have to put $20 in the phone box. Sorry about that. Yes, no, that's understood. It's something there that we can discuss during our budget deliberations and workshops, Councillor, so take that on note. Okay, Linda's, we've caught up all the changes there. Councillor, I don't see any further lights on there, so can I...
Just a reminder again that councillors who are on these groups to, appropriate notes, reports back to the council table, either through CIB or to the council table on a regular basis.
And just on your register of interest, councillors too, any changes there need to go up on any change there to your memberships and so forth as well. So, yes, good point, Ken, Mr. CEO. Getting that transparency and information back to the tables critically important as far as those meetings go. That said, councillors, I'll happy to seek a mover in a second with regards to the officers' recommendations. Move Councillor Kirkland, second, and Councillor Wickerson. I'll put those in favour. Against? Carried. Thank you. We have a late item, councillors, on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I've got to depart the meeting now.
Yep, no, that's okay.
And you can excuse me.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Fisher. Councillors, a late item, agenda item there for the ordinary, 10.9. Who's
Oh, it's going to be a bit of a mixed bag. This one. Angus is out at Dreamtime assisting with their strategic planning. So, Mr. Mayor and councillors, we've gone through particularly some future programs for next year's budget, and we've had what we're recommending for our Works for Queensland applications. One is the North Rockhampton sewage treatment plant augmentation, the Riverbank boardwalk repairs and refurbishment. We recently had that as a presentation. That's a very good project for Works for Queensland. And in the future years, I know we're in the process of our Botanic Gardens master plan, but remember this is over 3 years, this one, is that the playground is coming up for renewal, and so we put this project in there as well. So it is a bit of a
mixed bag, yeah. And again, this round is a longer round than previously. Normally they were over a 2-year time frame. This one's 3 years, and we need to have these projects put up now for that decision for the state to be able to allocate those funds. Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, I love the thought of the renewal of the playground at the Botanic Gardens, but the side of me that goes, can't all be fun, we have to do some other stuff, would say that the toilet block is probably more important. So unless we think we're going to get funding from somewhere else for the toilet block, I would have thought that it was probably a higher priority than the playground.
It can be. It's just, we can swap them in and out, but a fair amount of work we're running. The other part to it is we've got Thursday is our deadline for this, so we've just got a bit of time issues, councillor. So it actually does take pressure off us to actually fund the toilet block ourselves. So if it becomes a priority within the sooner time frame, we can actually use we've got more funding now. Didn't say that, we've got more money in our own budget.
for the toilet block. Yeah, and that may have been the case. I wasn't sure whether there was some other way, but as a priority, I think it is higher than the playground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably, sorry if I could through the Mayor, is that we were probably looking at the playground renewal in the last year. It's probably once we get through the Botanic Garden, so maybe the toilet block will be year 1 or year 2 or whatever it might be.
Yeah. If we would look specifically at playgrounds, then the Botanic Gardens playground would have come up a couple of years ago, certainly in our playground strategy. So it's not that it's not needed, just on a broader Botanic Gardens scale. I think the toilet block is probably higher priority.
No, that's understood and noted, Councillor. We can work on that, get information back as those budgets are delivered. Councillor Evan, any further information on that? I know there's, it's great to see this Works for Queensland money coming through. It's something we haven't had the privilege of over previous years, so it's great to see that and putting it to projects there that we really do need to undertake.
It's a great program there. Like it's fairly untied, and we can use it right from capital through to our maintenance. So it's a really good one. So we'll probably take normally a few months for the notification to come out of the department to let us know if they approve these projects. But once they do, or once we get something there, we'll put it in the CIB, and no doubt we can let people know.
Talk about it then. Okay, councillors, look, I'm happy. Oh, sorry, Councillor Mathers.
Sorry. Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. Just for some background for myself, 2021 to 2024 Works for Queensland program, does that mean that those funds are only available, that amount of funds are only available for that period of time, or that the program has to be run during that time?
We have to deliver all of those projects within that period of time.
Within that period of time. But will this funding come up annually?
No,
it's only during that
already
period.
Committed funding. We've just got to tell the department what projects we're wanting to put towards that funding, and they just acknowledge that, see if it ticks all their guidelines, and let us know.
Okay, so in 2024 there'll be another round of funding.
We'd hope so.
Okay, well, possibly, yes.
It's a great program.
Yes, it is.
And we should keep praising the government for this program.
That's from another level of government where it's not contestable funding. We're allocated on our population and statistics there, so it's something there that's really welcomed and something there that allows council to do things that are probably a little bit further on down in their budget process. So it's a great project, and we've been able to live many projects over the last few years really to tidy up and renew some of the areas around the region. So some of those things have been new, which come with a cost. But now we're looking at projects there that we'll need to replace some of that critical infrastructure that we need for our community, which is a great opportunity. Councillors, that said, I'm happy to move this report and seek a seconder. Councillor Mathers. I'll put that. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks very much, councillors. Councillors, that brings us to the end of our agenda items. Oh, sorry, my baddie. Moving on too quick. There's a notice of motion there, Councillor Kirkland, with request for a report to come back. Councillor, would you like to speak to your notice?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes. Councillors, as per the background and everything written here, I just wanted to highlight that between 2018 and September of 2020, Wackford Street was actually the subject of significant operational works for flood mitigation and draining reconstruction works. And as part of those, several properties were actually on the southern side of the Wackford Street, all received considerable disruption and changes to the topography and the gradient of their properties. Their verges and their pathways were changed, and their driveways in some instances. The majority of the properties that were previously affected by the impacting floodwaters, which was the reason for the reconstruction works, excuse me, were on the northern side of Wackford Street, and all of those works that have been completed do appear to have actually resolved those flooding issues. I've been approached on a number of occasions by a resident on the northern side, and I won't read out the entire history there for you, but certainly wanting to just point out that whilst all the necessary measures of obligation have been met by council as to the restoration of those verges and footpaths. I believe that consideration should be extended to alleviate any inconveniences brought upon any residents, in particular the one that has been contacting me. You can see here that the above mentioned that the resident of Wackford Street contacted me on the 21st of December to raise the subject. They considered that results coming back from the Ombudsman were not satisfactory. It's been through the normal council process, through the council's complaints management process. They were not satisfied that the works were restorative of the original condition of the property. So I believe that it is my understanding that the resident has also contacted other councillors and is feels considerably, in their opinion, disadvantaged by council's works. My personal opinion, having looked at the property, I've certainly seen photographs and certainly of my own observation previously as the councillor for the division, saw the property before the works and after the works. And if it were my own personal property, I would feel perhaps of the same sentiment that council could have probably done this a little bit better. I'm seeking all of your support to just have a report brought back to us from council officers in regards to the details relating to the matter, and including the provision of assistance for appropriate remediation, and in particular the remediation as sought by the resident mentioned in the report here, who has lodged those official complaints. Thank you. Yeah, so do I move that motion? Yes. So if I could move the motion to have a report brought back to councillors, including, what have we got up there? I'll read it out. That a report presented to next council meeting in relation to the remediation of property footpaths in Wackford Street, Park Avenue, following recent works undertaken by council.
Question, councillor Happy. Seconded, councillor Wickerson. Question, councillor Rutherford.
No, I was
Happy to second. Okay, councillor, if there's yes, Peter. The deadline, the timing on that?
The report's closed next.
That's not possible.
Okay. The next appropriate meeting? Next appropriate meeting or next available meeting?
Yeah.
Next available meeting, council meeting, is that?
Well, available is not the right word. No, I don't think
okay.
so.
Okay. Council meeting 11th of May. Yep. Okay. The second are happy with that change in the resolution? Move councillor Kirkland, second councillor Wickerson. I'll put that, councillors. Those in favour? Against? Do you want to record? No. Okay, thank you. Councillors, that brings us to the end of our agenda items. My apologies for jumping over that one there before, but any questions on notice? Urgent business questions? If not, I'd like to thank everyone and the officers for their attendance and close the meeting. Thank you.